Why is it okay for insurance companies to discriminate against males? You have statistics, but then you have something else I won't even bother with today. If it was the other way around, the feminist activist groups and a bunch of media outlets would be screaming their heads off. But because it's males, nobody cares. Yes, at least in America, a male is worth about half of its female counterpart. That's how males are treated. For everything, a male is a cheap thing that everyone wants to just piss on, while females are superior. It's like, even sharing an apartment, it's always the preferred sex. Anyhow, I won't go too much further before YouTube's corrupted algorithm strikes the message down. Now, the good and safe female drivers out there aren't to blame. What's to blame is the corruption allowed with these insurance companies. Since they constantly say things like males are more aggressive drivers, and DUIs are higher among males than females. And studies have reports showing that men make up a larger percentage of DUI arrests, you'd think they'd have good judgments that are consistent. But wait a minute, if things like poor credit can increase insurance rates more than DUIs, how is that consistent with bad driving habits and the risks of accidents in general?
That don't make no sense!
You might as well give younger drivers low premium rates, the drivers who barely have any money at their age to pay an absurd amount. Obviously, this is a risk assessment, but you must be consistent. It may as well be that males are more aggressive drivers, though in my opinion I think everyone should have equal rights and a chance to prove they are a good driver. It's a dedicated thing. Would it be right if insurers were allowed to discriminate based on things like race, religion, or ethnicity, even if their statistics say so? I think not, but who knows what these insurers really think or do behind closed doors. If we treated each driver as a dedicated driver and their driving history shows they haven't had any major accidents throughout the years, I think they shouldn't be viewed as high risk. A fair rate based on each individual's case, the car they drive, and background, then things would make more sense. It's quite unethical to base rates on things like credit scores, which aren't really relevant. Yes, it's possible they are at a greater chance of defaulting, but it's also possible someone with a mental illness is at greater risk of losing their emotional control. As with many things, it's not enough to pick and choose which rules should apply to whom if we're being logical. If a male or female decided they were going to identify as the opposite sex the next day, would their rates be changed? You see the point. Anyhow, this is not to discriminate against any individual on how he, she, or thee feels about themselves. That's totally up to them. My point is consistency. We should treat every driver as a dedicated person, because they are a dedicated person, and with newer innovative technologies, we can hopefully do a better job at screening individuals and assessing their risk instead of treating everyone the same based on a few bad apples. Others have suggested car insurance was a good program until money and corporatism got involved. Regardless, I don't think anybody really likes paying for car insurance and watching their money get washed away. Now, here are some key points that highlight the issues within the industry. Insurance fraud. The FBI estimates that the total cost of non-health insurance fraud is more than $40 billion per year, which translates to an increased cost of $400 to $700 per year for the average U.S. family in the form of higher premiums. Common schemes. These include premium diversion, fee churning, asset diversion, and workers' compensation fraud. For example, premium diversion can involve insurance agents failing to send premiums to the underwriter, keeping the money for only God knows what. Disaster-related fraud. Events like Hurricane Katrina have shown that disaster fraud schemes can significantly inflate the costs of insurance. False claims, misclassification of damage, and bid rigging by contractors are some of the ways fraud can occur in the wake of a disaster. Bribery and corruption. A survey indicated that many in the insurance industry expect levels of bribery and corruption to increase or remain the same. About 49% of those surveyed said they didn't have enough resources in their anti-corruption efforts, and third-party vendors were the most commonly blamed cause of corruption. These factors contribute to the perception of corruption in the car insurance industry. It's important to note that these are systemic issues and do not necessarily imply that all individuals or companies in the industry are corrupt. Efforts to combat these problems include regulatory measures, industry standards, and consumer awareness and reporting mechanisms. Overall, if we look at this from an objective viewpoint, I think most can agree that car insurers don't always treat drivers fairly, like the fact that excessive smartphone use is more prevalent in females than males. Have you ever thought of that? Texting while driving is extremely dangerous. More women, 52.4%, admitted to texting while driving than men, 47.6%. What does this tell you? It proves insurers are full of bull crap.